Our sign language interpreter is Yolan Zale. We begin with a controversy surrounding the presence and activities of Sudan's rebel faction, the Rapid Support Forces, RSF. And earlier today, confusion reigned over plans by the rebels to stage a media briefing in Nairobi. Varied notifications to newsrooms communicated changes of time, then venue, before the press conference was cancelled altogether. Earlier reports had indicated that the RSF intended to announce a parallel government of Sudan, an announcement that is reportedly to be made here in Nairobi on Friday. Melita Oletenges now reports.
The planned press conference by the Rapid Support Forces in Nairobi has been rocked by confusion, with conflicting information flooding newsrooms. The initial invitation sent by the Sudan Founding Alliance invited journalists to cover the event on Thursday, February 20th from 10:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. The group, which includes the RSF and various armed struggle movements, made the announcement on Wednesday. However, just 2 hours before the scheduled time, newsrooms received an update stating the event had been moved to 4 p.m. due to technicalities. Around 11:45 a.m., a new press invite went out, shifting both the time and the location again, now setting the conference for 3:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. at a different venue. The RSF and the Sudan Founding Alliance emphasized the event had not been cancelled, despite earlier reports to the contrary. The shifting announcements revealed a clear rift within the group. At 3:30 p.m., journalists arrived at the new venue, the JW Marriott Hotel, but the management confirmed the event was cancelled. Moments later, a final communication from the said Sudan Founding Alliance arrived, announcing the press conference had been postponed to a later date. The ongoing changes and uncertainty point to a divided group, with the RSF's planned announcement of a political charter and constitution now in limbo, amid mounting confusion and disarray. This follows Kenya's support for the RSF, a move that has sparked diplomatic concerns, with Musalia Mudavadi, Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs, defending Kenya's position, stating the RSF's roadmap aligns with the country's principles of mediation, adding that the RSF is also leveraging on good offices in Nairobi. Meanwhile, in Sudan, the RSF is reported to have carried out a massacre in the White Nile, killing over 200 people earlier this week, raising more questions in Kenya about the country's dalliance with the Janjaweed militia. Melita Oletenges, Citizen TV.
And tonight, over 600 hospitals under the Rural and Urban Private Hospitals Association of Kenya are giving notice that they will suspend services under the Social Health Authority starting Monday next week. The association says the decision follows the government's failure to clear 30 billion shillings worth of pending bills by the NHIF and ongoing system challenges with SHA, putting thousands of patients who rely on private healthcare at risk. Should the suspension take effect, it will be a major blow to teachers and police officers covered under the Medical Administrators Kenya Limited. Emily Chebet now reports.
The lives of thousands of patients who depend on private and faith-based health facilities now hang in the balance. The announcement by the Rural and Urban Private Hospitals Association of Kenya, RUFA, to suspend service delivery under the Social Health Authority next week paints a grim picture of a struggling healthcare system.
Despite numerous engagements with government authorities, two critical issues remain unresolved, making it impossible for hospitals to sustain operations. Number one, the settlement of historical NHIF arrears amounting to Kenya shillings 30 billion. Number two, we reject the unworkable SHA outpatient reimbursement model.
Tumeiangalia na tukaona kwamba haiwezekani kupeana huduma za afya kutumia mfumo huo. Mfumo huo ambao unatoa shilingi 900 kwa kila member kwa mwaka, ambayo ukihesabu ni chini ya shilingi 75 kwa mwezi.
Private hospitals are a crucial lifeline, delivering 45% of primary health services and accounting for 30% of level 4 healthcare facilities in Kenya. These hospitals provide specialized care and ongoing treatment to over 1 million Kenyans, including those living with chronic conditions such as kidney disease requiring dialysis, diabetes, heart disease and cancer. According to Dr. Lishenga, hospitals across all ownership categories in Kenya are grappling with significant challenges. The latest SHA transition scorecard by the Rural and Urban Private Hospitals Association of Kenya, RUFA, reveals worsening dysfunction within the system. Research conducted in February 2025 shows that 89% of hospitals reported that the SHA claims portal remains non-functional, preventing them from processing reimbursements. 54% of hospitals have not received any payments from SHA since December 2024. Those that received payments reported no transparency on what the payments were for, making financial planning impossible. 87% of public level 2 and 54% of public level 3 facilities have not received any SHA payment since SHA transition began. 83% of hospitals reported serious difficulties in verifying patient eligibility due to SHA system glitches, leading to denial of care for patients in urgent need. 74% of hospitals reported being unable to reach SHA for claim-related queries, with calls and emails going unanswered.
How do you explain paying 75 shillings for a diabetic patient, a hypertensive patient? We know that our dialysis centers are collapsing under the burden of NHIF claims. It will be tragic that from Monday, you would expect dialysis patients to start going back to their pockets. This is not the situation we've wanted. We want to protect the sector.
The Rural and Urban Private Hospitals Association, RUFA, has joined other private health facilities in suspending services for teachers and police officers covered under the Medical Administrator Kenya Limited scheme, citing unpaid debts.
MKL has failed to pay hospitals for the last 1 year. No single hospital has been paid by MKL. MKL has been forcing hospitals to accept arbitrary and unexplained discounts on true claims. We also note that MKL happens to own its own clinics and that it has been favoring these clinics in an uncompetitive and unethical manner.
According to RUFA, at least 2 million Kenyans will be affected by the latest move. The challenges bedeviling the Social Health Authority continues, with patients, especially those with chronic illnesses, expected to face a myriad of challenges come next week when all private hospitals have declared no service for anyone under SHA. Emily Chebet, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
And Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi resurfaced today in Parliament after days of maintaining a low profile in government, this time round sustaining an onslaught against the government he is serving for initiating new projects while numerous others had stalled. Speaking when he appeared before the National Assembly Labour Committee, Muturi, who has been accused of rocking the boat from within, said no public servants would lose their jobs during the restructuring of state corporations. Manuel Toh reports.
He has been accused by his counterparts of being an enemy within. Public Service CS Justin Bidan Muturi, who has maintained a somewhat low profile after launching a scathing attack on his boss, President William Ruto, for the spate of abductions in the country.
But I see you something to say.
Resurfaced Thursday, using the National Assembly Labour Committee as another range to launch yet another attack on President Ruto's government for starting new projects while others remained incomplete.
I don't know whether there's something wrong with our psyche as a country. Because the chairman, I'm saying this because I've traveled around this country. And there's something that I know some stored projects which have been there for more than 30 years. We have a lot of projects that are a terrible eyesore to not just ourselves as Kenyans, but even to visitors in this country.
Muturi questioning the rationale in allocating funds to numerous new projects that end up stalling.
That stalled project at Matuga, that stalled project in Baringo, that stalled project in Embu. When you come and provide a budget of, is it 70 million? In one it's 20, another one 20. Then the one in Embu here, the contractor who is already on site is owed 321 million, and he has already given a notice for interest payment of the pending bills of 60 million. Then you come and allocate 80 or 70, surely.
His advice?
If we don't have enough to do all of them, can we finish one? Can we get enough allocation to finish one? So that the year that follows, you can do the other. Because 20 million is it's not even a drop in the ocean. It's not a drop. Saliva.
President William Ruto, who has been crisscrossing the country, commissioning and launching new projects, has been under a hail of criticism for starting new development projects while others remained behind. Muturi, who has been seen as a thorn in the flesh of President Ruto's cabinet, has skipped several cabinet meetings, only choosing to attend a handful. He, however, attended a cabinet committee meeting at Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki's official residence in Karen after Thursday's parliamentary session. The embattled CS has come under fire, especially from his colleagues in cabinet, who have called for his immediate impeachment or resignation following his tirade against his boss. The CS also assured the public officers who will be moved to different departments after several state corporations were either dissolved or merged that they will not lose their jobs.
Even if there were to arise need for retrenchment, appropriate compensatory processes would have to be thought out.
The government announced it will dissolve 9 state departments while 6 were restructured. Emmanuel Toh, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
To another story now, there was drama outside the Kiambu Law Courts on Thursday when the embattled Juja Member of Parliament, George Koimburi, jumped onto a motorbike to escape from police. Security officers had attempted to rearrest Koimburi, who had just been released after the hearing of his alleged forgery case. Legislators allied to former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua have decried the move, terming it an attempt by the government to muzzle critics and silence calls for accountability. Gatete Njoroge reports.
Songs of freedom rent the air after the release of Juja MP George Koimburi. In the company of his lawyers and supporters, Koimburi breathed a sigh of relief when he was released after being in custody for 2 days. But the relief was to be cut short had it not been for the intervention of his aide, who was captured alerting him of police presence. Celebration was cut short as the MP was whisked away to evade another arrest. The unfortunate incident leaving behind dejected supporters who followed him. Before the drama, Koimburi lawyers had addressed members of the press after securing bail to have him released. The legislator who was arrested on Tuesday, days after questioning government's expenditure on the AUC chairman's bid, was on Wednesday arraigned and faced 6 charges of forging academic certificates. He denied the charges and was released on 200,000 shillings cash bail.
The court has been able to admit him to bail, pending a ruling, a substantive ruling on the same matter. And that's why we have him today as a free man. And that's why we are saying that through the use of the law, we shall overcome all these challenges.
I want to encourage the honorable member to make a motion on the floor of the House and question the expenditure which went on in African Union campaign.
The actions outside Kiambu Law Courts has raised concerns among MPs allied to former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua.
Tumeweza kustushwa.
They claim there is a plan to silence those criticizing the government through arrests.
Na mahali imefika, nataka kueleza serikali na Rais William Ruto. Toa schedule. Sema siku unataka kushika wajumbe, tutakuja kotini. Provide a schedule for us. Because the way you are behaving in a manner that you want to intimidate us.
Why send police to come and arrest a member of parliament whom you have given a police officer as a bodyguard? Just call the bodyguard and tell that Mheshimiwa, we need him somewhere.
Let us get that schedule so that I know when I'm going to be in a police station, I dress properly. Go and sleep in the police station. But this is not fair, Your Excellency.
Gachagua allies, most of whom have been dropped from key committees in the ongoing purge in parliamentary committees, now allege that the plan is to sideline Mount Kenya region as their positions are being dished to members of the broad-based government who do not necessarily hail from the region.
If indeed the problem was regarding Gachagua, why is he punishing a whole community? Why is he punishing a whole region? Case on point, every seat that belonged initially to Mount Kenya has been taken to other regions of the country.
Kama Senator Medhu ametolewa kama mwenyekiti wa kamati ya ardhi, basi angepatia kiti kile labda mtu mwingine kutoka mlimani ambaye alipiga ndio ili endeleze, lakini sio kwamba anapeleka kwa ODM.
The leaders insist that despite the threats and intimidation, they will not budge in their oversight role and will push the government to fulfill promises made to Kenyans during the campaigns. Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV.
The Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union has given the government a 30-day ultimatum to resolve the ongoing dispute over internship wages. In a statement, the Union Secretary General Dr. Davji Atela made it clear that any attempt to slash intern doctor salaries from the agreed 206,000 shillings to 70,000 shillings would lead to industrial action. Atela further warned that failure to honor the 2017 collective bargaining agreement would trigger nationwide protests from the 18th of March. Mary Mwoki has the details.
Solidarity forever, for the union makes us strong.
It's a familiar story. Another day, same faces and the same struggle. The Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, KMPDU, is once again at odds with the Ministry of Health. This time, the controversy stems from a recent threat by Health Cabinet Secretary Dr. Deborah Barasa to slash the wages of intern doctors. During the 2025 Health Summit, the CS announced that the new intern cohorts would receive 70,000, a figure that directly contradicts an earlier agreement. The news seemingly rubbing the medics the wrong way.
We can't be here every year on the same issue. You know, it has to have an end, you know.
Are you ready for the streets? It seems like it's become a routine. Every time doctors have to go on the streets. It's not our job.
When the CS said about 70K, the reality is that the entire doctor fraternity got agitated. That this war is not for interns. This war is for the entire fraternity.
The dispute stems from a High Court ruling on October 31st, 2024, which upheld the Salaries and Remuneration Commission's directive to reduce medical intern stipends to 70,000. The court dismissed petitions challenging this decision, affirming that the SRC acted within its constitutional authority. In response, KMPDU launched a 56-day strike in March 2024, protesting the pay cut and demanding the full implementation of the collective bargaining agreement. The strike ultimately ended with an agreement to restore the 206,000 salary for intern doctors.
In fact, you know, you increasingly are under pressure to offer services, but every year we are still talking about the same issues of posting, and now we are starting to introduce new issues of pay.
If it happens that the fiscal space of the Kenya government is not able to support its structures and there's need for wage reduction, it should start from the president.
Dr. Atela has accused the government of dishonesty, claiming it has reneged on its commitments. He reiterated the union's resolve to secure fair compensation for all doctors, as outlined in the collective bargaining agreement. The union has also directed doctors across the country to prepare for potential industrial action if the government fails to honor the agreed salaries.
That this is a fight that we will always have, as long as government decides to be deceitful, to be dishonest, and to purport in their wild thoughts that they will treat any lot of interns, be it now, be it the next 5 years, be it in the next 10 years, in a way that is derogative.
Mary Mwoki, Citizen TV.
And now to the story of a former chancellor of the second university, that is Moi University, Professor Bethel Alan Ogot, who also once served as the Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Academic Affairs at the University of Nairobi, has been eulogized as a distinguished Kenyan historian who has been immortalized through a collection of publications recognized globally. Professor Ogot, who died on 30th of January 2025, has left a rich legacy in the world of academia and an indelible mark in the lives of many scholarly mentees. Safina Cheng Oma attended his funeral service and filed the following report.
Friends, family, the political class and academicians gathered for a solemn service at the All Saints Cathedral on Thursday to share the life and times of Professor Bethel Alan Ogot, a man they described as a towering academic giant who gifted his society with his brilliance, details of it captured in his prized publications.
We've actually, you're saying kwaheri to an institution. I cannot think of a greater historian, not just in our country, but in our region.
Through his intellectual prowess and many years of research, he has left an indelible mark in the literature space and secured a seat in the pantheon of great historians.
Professor Ogot, who died at the age of 95 on 30th of January 2025, held various pivotal positions in various universities in the country, including the University of Nairobi, where he worked for about 2 decades from 1964, and eventually he was elected as the first and last Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Academic Affairs of the institution.
Professor Bethel Alan Ogot's legacy is not only one of scholarly distinction, but also of transformative influence on the University of Nairobi and in turn the university's impact on his own intellectual journey.
Despite his unmatched scholarly prowess, his family shared a moving tribute of a man they say was close to their hearts.
The challenge with having a sharp mind, as my dad did until the very end, is I believed he would live forever. Because every time you engage him, there's no sign that he's slowing down. Yes, his mobility was slowed down, but he could still actively engage you.
He was a father who loved his children, did the best for his children, his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren, until the last day of his life.
His son, David Ogot, allowing the world a peek into Professor Ogot's life outside research and academics by sharing how a father held his son's hand through and out of addiction.
For years, he would get annoyed when he sees me on TV and the tag is recovering alcoholic. David, why are you calling yourself alcoholic? And you left rehab 10 years ago. And it took me many years to explain to him that as an alcoholic, I can drink, yes, but I can never drink safely again. I am in recovery until the day I am buried to go to join him and mom.
The distinguished scholar, writer, and public servant will be laid to rest at his home in Yala, Siaya County on Saturday. Safin Acheng Oma, Citizen TV.
May the late professor rest in peace. The Boda Boda Association of Kenya has threatened nationwide demonstrations if the National Assembly passes the Public Transport Bill 2023. The Senate has already approved the draft law which proposes strict regulations, including a 50-kilogram cap on luggage carried by motorcycles. And as Laura Otieno now reports, the bill, sponsored by Senator Boni Khalwale, has faced increasing opposition nationwide, with Boda Boda riders calling it an attempt to suppress their livelihoods.
The Public Transport Motorcycle Regulation Bill of 2023, recently passed by the Senate, has stirred up a storm, with Boda Boda riders now threatening nationwide protests if the bill is approved by the National Assembly. Speaking on Thursday, Kevin Mubadi, the national chairman of the Boda Boda Safety Association of Kenya, called the bill oppressive and raised concerns that it could open doors to corruption.
Yes.
One of the key points of contention is the proposed limit to the weight of carriage carried on a motorbike to 50 kilograms. Mubadi argued that such a regulation is unrealistic given that Kenya lacks the infrastructure necessary to enforce it.
Will these members of parliament provide weighing machines kwa kila barabara penye watu wanapita? Ndio askari akinishika aseme hii yako imepita kilo 2, hii yako imepita kilo 20. Hiyo tumekataa unless we have a proper public participation.
The bill is generating more debate with several controversial clauses now in the spotlight. One such clause proposes a 20,000 shillings fine for anyone caught riding on a pedestrian walkway, raising concerns among riders. Another point of contention is the formation of county boards to regulate boda boda activities, with chairs appointed by county governors. The bill also includes a proposal to install trackers on all motorcycles, a move that has sparked privacy concerns among many in the industry.
Sisi watu wa boda boda tunaumia, baridi inatukula, baridi inatuumiza, tunakufa na pneumonia. Unataka kupeleka nini msaada kwa bunge ipitishe ili msitu kutuangaisha. Hiyo msaada msijaribu kupitisha. Kama ni mbaya, kama mtapitisha mjipange 2027.
Yoyote ambaye atajaribu kudhubutu kupitisha hii sheria nyumbani mapema, hata tutakuja 2027 sisi tuko tayari, na sisi ni serikali namba 3. Tuko na national government, county government na boda boda government.
According to the Boda Boda Safety Association of Kenya, the subsector has employed more than 2 million people across the country. With the situation evolving, all eyes are now on the National Assembly to decide the next steps. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
All right, and what's the time now? It's about 28 minutes after 9 o'clock. We're taking a short break. Welcome back. It's time for Data Point, and we are reflecting on what's just about to happen in the next 1 week, which is the end of the month of February. And you may remember this, that there has been reforms to the NSSF contribution since February 2023. And that time, there were tiers that were created, meaning if you earn a salary monthly, the first 6,000 of your salary would be put into Tier 1. That was in 2023. In Tier 2 was up to 18,000 shillings, meaning in 2024 that went up to 7,000 shillings, and the Tier 2 was 36,000 shillings. In 2025, Tier 1 went up to 8,000 shillings, and this is what is about to happen in the next 1 week. And the upper limit is 72,000 shillings. I'll be telling you how that works, because the NSSF rate remains at 6%, and the employer is supposed to match that contribution. Let's take a look at some of the cases that you need to look at to get a clearer picture. The maximum contribution in the month of January, that is last month, for a person in earning a salary, Tier 1 was up to 7,000 shillings of your salary, which was attracting 6% of that would be 420 shillings. For Tier 2, the limit was 36,000. The limit has been 36,000 shillings. So the difference between 36,000 and 7,000 is 29,000. So that 6% of 29,000 comes to 1,720 shillings, and the total there is supposed to be 2,160, which is 6% of 36,000. So this has been the maximum contribution for every employee in the country. Now, for the month of February, that is changing, because the upper limit is rising to 72,000 from 36,000 to 32,000. This is how it's going to work. So Tier 1 already rising to 8,000 shillings. 6% of that is 480 shillings. Tier 2, the limit rising to 72,000 shillings. The difference between 72,000 and 8,000 is 64,000. So 6% of 64,000 comes to 3,840, meaning that the total deduction will be 4,320 shillings. That's an increment, which is a double increment from 36,000 to 72,000, and the contribution rises to 4,320 shillings. So for someone earning a salary of 50,000 shillings, this is what is going to happen. In Tier 1, which is 7,000, the 6% is 480 shillings. In Tier 2, that will come to 2,520 shillings. That is a 6% of 8,000, not 7,000, and that will give you a total of 3,000 shillings. So the employer is supposed to match the same. So they will do that, and therefore Tier 1 will give 960 shillings, which is the total between the employer and the employee. In Tier 2, the total will be 2,520, and inclusive of the employer, that will come to 5,040 shillings. So the total saving for the employer, for the employee rather, will be 6,000 shillings for someone earning 50,000 shillings. Now, compared to what it was in January, which is last month, 2,160 times 2, which was 4,320, it's rising to 6,000 contribution per employee. Let's take a look at another case of someone earning 40,000 shillings. So here is how Tier 1 will look. So Tier 1 will remain the same for so many employees in the country. Tier 2 changes because you're talking about what remains between 8,000 and your salary, the limit being 72,000. So the contribution for this employee will be 2,400, and the employer will match that contribution by 2,400 shillings. So the total saving for that employee will be 4,800 shillings. Currently, or rather in January, the contribution was a total of 4,320, which is 2,160 times 2. So you can see the difference there. Now, for someone earning a salary of 80,000 shillings, so you realize this is beyond 72,000 shillings. So Tier 1 remains the same. Tier 2 will not go beyond what is 6% of 72,000. So you still be at 3,840. So the total contribution for this employee will be 8,640. So this is important because in as much as it is a saving, you realize the difference between 8,640 and the total of 2,160 times 2, which is 4,320. What does this mean for the employers? It's affecting their cash flows because this is a statutory deduction. They have to pay for the employer, for the employee, and also make their own contribution for that employer. So it's going employee rather. So it's going to have impact on the cash flows of the organization. Let's take a look at something else. If someone is earning a gross pay of 50,000 shillings, this is how the payslip will be different between January 2025 and March 2025, or if you like, Feb 2025, which is next month. This has been how it has been. 39,619 was the take home. Because of the changes in terms of the contribution of NSSF from 2,160 to 3,000, the take home will be 39,030 shillings. It may look like a difference of about 600 shillings, less than 600 shillings actually, but the reason is because the NSSF contribution is tax deductible, meaning it will be deducted before this person is taxed based on the existing rates as per the KRA and the laws in the country. Something else to look at is someone earning 80,000. How different is it between January 2025 and February 2025? This person took home 59,724 shillings on the 31st of January 2025, but next month, or next week rather, 20th of Feb, they'll take home 58,212. The difference will be 1,500 shillings, which is because of the NSSF contribution. So what does this tell us? In summary, let's take a look at that. And because of the two tiers, Tier 1, which is a maximum of 480 shillings, must be paid to the NSSF. For Tier 2, which you can see is a maximum of 3,840, can be sent to the NSSF, but an employer may decide to invest that money for the employees in private pension funds, which becomes a different arrangement. There may be better returns for that employee. And this, even if it's done, there has to be the threshold of 6%, which is the minimum contribution for the NSSF. And that is data point for this week. Wish you all the best as you approach at the end of February. To another story now. The family of 14-year-old Samuel Otieno, who went missing during last year's youth protests, is now urgently appealing to the government for help in finding their son. 7 months have passed since Samuel disappeared in Ongata Rongai amid the intense Gen Z protests. Samuel was a close friend of Kennedy Onyango, a young man tragically killed near Cleanshelf during the same protests. Francis Ode brings us more on this heartbreaking search for answers.
We are in Kware Ongata Rongai, where Samuel Odhiambo's mother has opened doors to her home. She's been living temporarily with a friend, having sold all her belongings in a desperate effort to fund the search for her missing son.
Sasa bila nilipoteza hiyo kuna miaka 15. Sijaimwona, sijaisikia hata simu yangu.
14-year-old Samuel Odhiambo disappeared during the Gen Z protest last year. For the past 7 months, his family has been on a relentless quest for for answers. Samuel Otieno was very close to Kennedy Onyango, who tragically lost his life during protest in Ongata Rongai near the Clean Shelf supermarket.
Kennedy alikuwa rafiki ya mtoto wangu mwenye amepotea. Kurudi saa 5 usiku nilirudi nikapata watoto wangu wadogo wako peke yao. Samuel hakuonekana tena, sikumuona hiyo siku.
Samuel's mother remains filled with anxiety, still searching for answers about her son's whereabouts.
Huyo mtoto wangu nimefanya hata bado niko Kajiado. Natamani sana kwenda hata nyumbani nikaanzie maisha nyumbani juu kunaona tu nazidi kulemewa.
As Samuel's mother recounts the pain of her search, she describes the overwhelming challenges she faced, struggling not only to find her son, but also enduring personal hardship. In the midst of the search, she was evicted from her rented home, where she had lived with her children.
Saa zingine nalala njaa na watoto. Inabidi nimetoka nimeenda huko Galleria kuomba pale kwa ile mall, ili nipate hata unga tu nikuje nipe watoto. Saa zingine nafungiwa mlango. Nenda kuomba nipate hata kitu kidogo nikuje niongee na landlord anifungulie mlango. Nilijaribu mbinu zote. Sasa ikanifikishia mwisho juu sasa nilikuwa naona siwezi lipa nyumba, siwezi fanya chochote.
Hata mahali anafanya kazi, boss, huyo boss ndio wangu. Ananipigia na niambia mama saa zingine akiamua analia peke yake. Analia peke yake, anakaa tu kama yatima.
So ilifika pahali nikikuja kumdai ananiambia yuko na stress. Mara ananiambia mtoi sijui yuko mochari. Anaenda saa hiyo pesa kuliko nipatia anaenda kumtafuta. Saa mwisho hivyo tena akakuja akaniambia mtoi na hata hizo mochari zote mtoi oneka. Hiyo ndio story tulimaliziana naye. So nikamwambia kama uko na watu wenyu hapa hivi kuliko hii deni yangu idiongezee, wewe enda tu na nikamwachia ndio huyo.
Her only plea now is for answers, desperate to know where her son is and to bring him home.
Naomba tu tafadhali mnishike mkono. Nipate mtoto hata kama alikufa. Nijue nitampata wapi ili nimzike. Nikae nikijua alikufa na akazikwa. Ama kama ako hai, hata kama mtu alimpata, waniambie tu ako na wapi ili nione mtoto wangu for the last time. Hiyo tu ndio naomba.
Now, it is through this gate that Samuel would use that fateful day when he left this house or this building and used the same road few meters from where the protest happened. His friend was shot dead close to this area. 7 months later, Samuel has never been seen. Samuel has never been located. Ode Francis, Citizen TV, Kware, Ongata Rongai.
A sad story there by Ode Francis. 13 primary schools in Nandi County are the latest beneficiaries of water tanks, courtesy of Shabiki.com through its community outreach program, Jamii Initiative. The 10,000 litres water tanks are meant to help the learning institutions preserve water for dry seasons and providing learners and surrounding communities with clean drinking water.
It was all song and dance at the Chepterit Girls High School in Nandi County during the handover ceremony of 13 water tanks to 13 primary schools by Shabiki.com's community outreach program Jamii Initiative in its continued efforts to empower communities around the country. The water tanks distributed here are aimed at reducing wastage in learning hours in search of the precious commodity.
Today we are not just handing over water tanks, we are investing in the future of our children and therefore our country. At Shabiki.com, we believe success comes with responsibility. Through our Shabiki.com na Jamii Initiative and Clean Water for Schools initiatives, we are committed to giving back.
I'm very grateful for this gift that you have given us, and I'm very sure next year when you come, our results will be higher and you will not ask why. You will know it is because we got water and therefore we had more time to study in class. We did not have to run around for water.
The Water Tanks Initiative is crucial in ensuring schools are building capacities in combating effects of climate change and by extension the surrounding communities.
The vision is to penetrate the entire country, ensuring that every child has access to clean water,
Because when we invest in children, we invest in a better country for ourselves.
To Shabiki.com shows commitment, community development and responsible gambling.
Lakini sasa kwa sababu utapata maji ya mvua na hiyo ni mzuri, itasaidia sana hata kwa usafi, hata kuondoa magonjwa mbalimbali kwa shule, na watoto watakuwa na afya nzuri.
Kama Mwangi, Citizen TV.
At least 1,000 needy households in Mombasa have benefited from food donation that is meant to cater for the holy month of Ramadan. The Al Khair Foundation, together with other well-wishers, have given out donations to help needy Muslims during the holy month of Ramadan. Hassan Komu, the project coordinator at Al Khair Foundation, says high cost of living has made it difficult for millions of families across the country to put a meal on the table. He has asked Kenyans to join hands and help the needy. The donations were made at the Serani grounds, with the holy month expected to start in early March.
Ramadan food packs to 1,000 vulnerable families drawn from the 6 sub-counties of Mombasa County. This is a food pack which contains almost 40 kg of foodstuffs.
Beneficiary ambao kwamba wamebenefit na chakula kama hiki Mombasa County ni all 6 sub-counties. Mombasa iko na 6 sub-county. Lakini kwanza tumeweka kipaumbele walimu na maimamu wetu wa madrasa.
All right, now we are taking another short break, but when we come back, we have forward. Defending the move, authorities argue that the national tolling policy is crucial for maintaining and expanding the country's road network. Citing the Nairobi Expressway model, the government is confident of shifting the cost of infrastructure development from taxpayers to road users. Dennis Otieno now tells us more.
Nearly a year has passed since the government first announced its intention to expand toll charges to all major roads in the country. Justifying the proposal, the Kenya National Highways Authority, KENHA, says Kenya's road infrastructure requires continuous maintenance and expansion to keep up with the rising traffic demands. However, with limited public funds and increasing debt, the government sees tolling as a sustainable solution.
Most of our key corridors have exceeded their capacity. An example is Nairobi-Mombasa. The second one is example that our Waziri has put forth to us, Nairobi-Nakuru-Mau Summit. Many have spent nights in that particular corridor just because of its capacity.
Kenya's road network stretches 239,122 kilometers, with 164,966 kilometers classified and 74,155 kilometers unclassified. The state estimates it will need 5.2 trillion shillings over the next decade to improve connectivity and maintain 69% of the network.
A study that was undertaken on the economic impact on e-mobility on RMLF, that is in 2023, informs that the estimated annual maintenance needs for Kenyan current road network stands at 253 billion Kenya shillings, while the RMLF collection estimates for the financial year 24-2025 is at 100 billion. That paints the sort of deficit that we have.
The government plans to begin collecting public feedback on the proposal starting Monday next week. If the process proceeds as scheduled, the policy could be finalized and published by the end of April.
And this is one of the initiatives we are taking today to ensure that the more commercial roads that have got heavy traffic can be built as a toll road so that we really ease and do more of the social obligations in terms of opening spaces that may not attract investors in the sector.
Currently, the Nairobi Expressway is Kenya's only tolled road. Spanning 27 kilometers, it connects Nairobi's central business district to the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. The government views this project as a successful self-financing infrastructure project and is hoping to replicate this to other major roads in the country. Dennis Otieno, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Months after cutting ties with Adani Energy, KETRACO is finalizing a 45 billion shilling deal with Africa 50 to construct 2 power lines. Facing financial constraints, the company is turning to private investors to strengthen the power grid and cut technical losses. Here's our reporter Wamboi Wangoi with the details.
The Kenya Transmission Company KETRACO now says it is in the final stages of negotiating a public-private partnership with Pan-African infrastructure investor Africa 50.
Africa 50 were the first to come to the country. The first time they brought an expression of interest was in 2018. So they've been here for the last 7 years.
With a requirement of over $250 million worth of new projects every year and a government that is fast approaching its debt ceiling, KETRACO says the only way to deliver on its mandate is by tapping into the private sector for partnerships.
Those are the reasons that we have to think of other ways, because the demand is there, the population is increasing, investors are really looking upon us. Kenyans are demanding to have power for 365 days for every second in the whole time. So it's just a matter of balance that. So that's why we're thinking of 2 spaces, PPP and asset monetization.
Africa 50 will construct 2 new transmission lines, a 400 kilovolt line from Lesos to Losuk and a 220 kilovolt line from Kisumu to Musaga. KETRACO and Africa 50 have already agreed on a number of issues, such as the total cost of the project, which is about 45 billion shillings, as well as the cost of the debt, which will come in at about 7.25%.
The return on equity offer is 16% at the moment. KETRACO is trying to push them down to 14%. But when you look at what is happening in India, they are close to 15.5%. But we'll try our best to negotiate and get Kenyans a better deal.
KETRACO also says it is finalizing on the ouster of Adani Energy Solutions.
Adani also had different projects set. We are definitely finalizing the termination once we get the AG's approval. But the most, I can say for now is that we have been discussing with various financials, World Bank, to support us get transaction advisor to repackage the projects and hopefully go for tender before June. So that's the target we are pushing.
Wamboi Wangoi, Citizen TV.
The National Treasury has raised concerns about Kenya's debt sustainability due to low revenue collection and slow growth in key sectors. Treasury Principal Secretary Dr. Chris Kiptoo says that although the economy has seen an improvement in key indicators, the underperformance in revenue amidst a growing expenditure demand poses a crucial challenge for the government to finance its programs. Jimmy Mbogo reports.
To raise revenues, contain expenditures.
Dr. Kiptoo highlighted some of the challenges facing government financing, noting that the country's debt vulnerability has increased, taking a huge chunk of the country's resources, with expenditure also increasing without commensurate revenue collection.
So we have exchange rate stabilized, interest rates have come down, inflation has come down, and the macro environment is much stable. What now we want is to make sure that we especially on the fiscal front, we need to still balance the budget. And we have challenges there because revenue-raising measures are not enough to balance what our expenditure. Expenditures keep increasing. Revenues are not going as much as we should.
But according to the private sector, despite key indicators such as stability of the Kenyan currency, lower lending rate and lower inflation rate, Kenyans are still struggling to meet their needs, reflecting a weaker demand for commodities.
But this is an economy that is bigger, and government spending has been high, where the deficits have been 4, 5, some years they were as high as 6%. But the poverty rates today are back to where they were in the mid-2000s. So if you measure Kenya's poverty today, people are poorer today than they were in the year of COVID. So we must give credit. But what I'd like to sit here and say, Kenyans, we have serious work to do. And we can't wipe away this thing with flowery language and PR messages.
The PS, speaking during the annual DTB Bank Economic and Sustainability Forum, further revealed that the preparation for the second supplementary budget will see the country's expenditure edge closer to a 4 trillion expenditure, despite the commitment by the National Treasury to lower government expenditure through fiscal consolidation.
So we have gone to Parliament with a new budget, supplementary budget, which has higher which is higher than before. You remember we reduced from 4 trillion to 3.8 trillion. Now we have gone back with a more realistic one. No, it's not 4.2, it's 3.9, it's almost 4 trillion. That is in this supplementary. But next year, it's going up to 4.2.
The private sector further called on the government to enhance competitiveness by addressing administrative issues that have become a hindrance to the ease of doing business in the country. Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
All right, so now we're taking a short break for a very few minutes so that we can come back and touch on the sports update, and thereafter we'll have the news gang. Stay tuned for that.
Campus, 3 locations. Welcome to the future of healthcare education. This is Imperial College of Medical and Health Sciences. Introducing our Nakuru campus. The next generation of healthcare professionals is secure with us, offering you education grounded in theory but built on real-world application. March 2025 intake is now open. Please call us on 0719-223-223. Imperial College of Medical and Health Sciences. Committed to professional excellence. Every Friday, 10 p.m.
Unajua ni kudunda kudonjo. Bigger statue. Salam Konko.
Akufa juu, kila mtu hapa ndani kufa juu.
E for the energy. E for the vibe. Say E for the energy. Unaweza niita media messiah Skombora.
Coast Africa's mega hype man, good man.
10 over 10 every Friday from 10 p.m. Unpacked by
MVP Nico, ready to play.
Stay ready to play night and day with Kiss condoms on just 50 shillings a pack. Kiss condoms, ready to play.
Ready to play.
Are you building a home, a church, a school, a godown, or any other premise? Homelink Mabati Factory is your trusted partner in roofing. Enjoy amazing discounts on our products, including box profile, V-tile, prime tile, and canopy sheets. We customize your roof and deliver your order in just 48 hours. Call us on 0794 800 000. Homelink Mabati Factory. We promise, we deliver.
Ramadhani ndio hii. Ni msimu ambao thawabu zake ni nyingi.
Na kumfuturisha mtu una ajiri yake.
Usipitwe na hii fursa adhimu ya kuweza kuwafuturisha Waislamu wasiojiweza.
Join us for our 2025 food pack campaign as we aspire to feed 5,000 families.
When I have back pain, I reach for 2 tablets of Panadol Extra. It's boosted by caffeine for fast relief of strong pain, like headache, toothache, and muscle pain. And I am finally released from pain and ready to be there for those who need me. Try Panadol Extra for fast and effective relief from strong pain.
Africa, a land of unforgiving extremes, where one beast makes its commanding presence felt. Unfazed by this dramatic vastness, this colossal marvel is the symbol of dominance. It is ready to take on any terrain effortlessly, presenting the UD Trucks Quester, going the extra mile.
Please can I have that and that? Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Ukiwin, beshte yako nje local shop win too. Hii ni the Cadbury Big Win-Win. Nunua any 2 participating Cadbury products. Scan QR code ama WhatsApp hi kunominate beshte yako nje local shop. Stand a chance ya kushinda share yako in cash prizes plus more. You a win for you is a win for all. T's and C's apply.
Explore the nature and create from it. The spirit of inventors leads to the inspiration for new technology. By drawing nature's energy, we create the extraction tech. Small in size, huge in power. Millions of microcapsules condense the essence of nature. Join us, Clesoft Invent for Life.
Fanya mambo uonyeshe who's boss here. Skema fan tunakuchia tukikuangalia. You can make it to the top, ushinde ligi pia. And she don't love it on top to be sincere.
MVP Nico ready to play.
After kiss letter kiss we can do it my way. It's a good day, ni payday. Most no rush. Ready to play to cop, ready to play. Ready to play to cop, ready to play. Ready to play to cop, ready to play. Ready to play to cop.
Ready to play.
In sports, Riz Charania and Daniel Nduva were the best performing Kenyans at the end of round 1 of the Magical Kenya Open at the Muthaiga Golf Club. Charania had a good score of 69 to be ranked 33rd, together with 11 other golfers. On his part, Daniel Nduva also had an impressive score of 70. Meg Njeri with the details.
A day that most golfers get to test their might for the first time in a competitive environment, 3 Kenyan golfers stood up to be counted among the great players of the day. Riz Charania's 4 birdies pushed to an impressive score of 2 under par, 69, to end the day joint 33rd with 11 other players. One shot behind Charania was Daniel Nduva. The 29-year-old collected 5 birdies, 9 pars and 4 bogeys, resulting in a 1 under par 70 score. This performance places him among the leading Kenyan contenders in the tournament.
Started off really well. Started off birdie on number 10, birdie number 12. So after 3 holes, I was already 2 under par. The golf course is playing good. As you can see, even today, there's not much wind in the afternoon. The sun is out, it's hot. The golf course is playing tough. You have to hit some really good shots for you to score out there.
Top Kenyan qualifier Njoroge Kibugu succumbed under pressure and only managed 2 birdies. 5 bogeys and a double bogey gave him a disappointing score of 5 over par 76.
I'm looking forward to hitting more greens tomorrow and capitalizing on my putting, and hopefully I can get something out of it. To be honest, I'm just going to forget about today and try my best to make as many birdies as possible, but also limit the drops.
The tournament continues through to Sunday, with players competing for a prize purse of 324 million Kenya shillings. Despite challenging weather conditions, Kenya golfers are demonstrating their effort and remain optimistic on their next performance. Reporting for Citizen TV Sports, I'm Jerry Meg.
Defending league champions Gor Mahia shot blanks for the 2nd match in a row after being held to a barren draw by Bidco United, who had lost the previous 5 matches. The blunt Gor Mahia attack wasted clear-cut chance to the frustration of their fans. In another match in the FKF Premier League, Mathare United caused an upset by beating league leaders Police FC 1-0 at the Dandora Stadium. Veteran Paul Kinyanjui delivered the sucker punch for Mathare in injury time.
Hili nina furaha kwa sababu opponent walioenda especially second half amekuwa so direct, so na I think mahali pia nimetoka nilipata the same kind of football, so I think haikunipatia matatizo kuprepare kwa timu zote mbili.
Tunisia will not underrate Kenya's Harambee Starlets when the two sides clash in the first leg of the Women Africa Cup of Nations qualifier at the Ulinzi Sports Complex. Tunisia arrived 2 days ago and have complained of harsh weather conditions in Nairobi. Both Tunisia and the Harambee Starlets had a feel on the newly refurbished Ulinzi Sports Complex. Coach Beldino Dimba says they have had a very short time to prepare for the match as the FIFA window opened on the 16th of February, 5 days before the match. Some players arrived late, just 2 days to the match, while others could not make it for the first leg. The coach has urged the players or her players to go for a win to make it easier in the second leg to be played under tough conditions in Tunisia.
In the first match, those who are ready will show, those who are ready will play, but the rest we have a few days before the second match, then for us to see them.
We know that they have some players who are playing in Europe. The striker who are playing in Slavia Prague, a really good striker. In my opinion, she's one of the girls that can do good tomorrow, and especially also the wings you have fast. So like we not take this as an easy game at all.
The national women's football teams have been assured of full government support in their quest to qualify for international tournaments. Sports Principal Secretary Engineer Peter Tum made the assurance when he visited the Harambee Starlets and the Junior Starlets at camp in Kasarani. Harambee Starlets take on Tunisia in the Women's Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers, while the Junior Starlets will face Uganda in the 2025 Women Under-17 World Cup qualifiers. Engineer Tum said the focus of the Ministry of Sport is to give equal support to both the men and the women football teams. Tum was accompanied by the FKF President Hussein Mohammed and the FKF Vice Chairperson, that is Vice President MacDonald Mariga.
Identifying talent, nurturing that talent and monetizing is bearing fruit down the line. And you've realized that most of the seniors are girls who are playing in other jurisdictions. And that is giving us a feel of pride as a country.
And